What's going on, everybody? We've got an awesome show for you today. At ICAST this year, I met a gentleman by the name of Hunter Smallback. And Hunter is a rising star in the WWE. Beyond that, he grew up in Florida and has fished for pretty much everything and loves hunting and fishing so much. We had him on Saltwater Experience this year. It's been really great to get to know him better. And today we're going to learn all about his journey to the WWE that has a lot to do with hunting and fishing. Very interesting story. If you want to support the podcast, the best way that you could support the podcast is to join the coffee club. The Black Rifle Coffee Club is a great way to get the best coffee in the world shipped to your door. You can change your subscription anytime you want on their awesome app. The latest subscription that I've gotten was the AK Espresso, and also you can get ready to drink. I don't know if you've tried these ready to drinks, but these things are absolutely delicious and also great to keep in the truck or the boat. If you want to support the podcast, the best way to do that is to go to Black Rifle Coffee, use the code BLASTOFF25, or even better, you can go to the Instagram Tom Rowland Podcast or Tom_Rowland, and there's a link in the bio. You can click that link and use the code BLASTOFF25. You'll get 25% off lots of things on the site, as well as your first month in the coffee club. So that's the best way that you could support us, and by listening to this podcast, sharing it with others if you think that they will help. Give us a rating and review. That always helps. Really appreciate that on iTunes. That makes a big difference on how many people can see the show. So if you'll do any of those things, it'd be much appreciated. Now stand by for an awesome podcast with Hunter Smallback, WWE Rising Superstar.
I am Hunter Smallback, WWE Superstar, and this is the Tom Rowland Podcast.
I got my Black Rifle coffee going. First podcast of the day. Hunter, what are you up to? How you doing?
Good morning. I'm well. I'm just over here in Orlando. Just woke up not too long ago. Bit of a sleep-in day, and then I get to go wrestle here in a few hours.
Wrestle. So tell me about where you are in your wrestling career.
Yeah, so I'm over in Orlando at the WWE Performance Center with NXT. So I started about 7 months ago, and I've been training every single day at the Performance Center. Just absolutely loving where I'm at. The people are so cool. The coaches are great. You know, we're learning from the best coaches in the world. Shawn Michaels is my boss.
Is that right?
Cool. Yeah, pretty cool. The Heartbreak Kid.
That's super cool. And then you're also training with another super up-and-coming wrestler. You were telling me, Gable Stevenson, who is that guy is amazing. I mean, I know him from his amateur wrestling career, and man, what an athlete he is.
Oh, truly. Like, just watching this guy move in the ring is just crazy. He's just so fluid and so smooth, which is what I really aspire to be like. You know, some people are a little stiff, but I think the guys that can flow like water are the best.
Yeah, that's awesome. So NXT. So explain to people that may not be a professional wrestling fan where that lies. That's like a feeder program for the WWE and a place that you can get started. And is that correct?
Precisely, yeah. So NXT is still owned by WWE, but it is like your minor league team of a major league MLB team. So we're a direct feeder to both Raw and SmackDown, and our top guys, like our champs, they'll go up and do shows and events on Raw and SmackDown occasionally. But they're just really kind of grooming us till we're fully ready for the big stage. You know, we still have a lot of followers that love NXT, which is awesome, and they give us such great support week in and week out. I think our average viewers is 800,000 each Tuesday watching NXT.
Wow! And where is that on? What network?
You can watch it on A&E on your regular cable provider, or if you have a Peacock service, you could get everything wrestling ever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's super cool.
So 800,000 people are watching every week. Those are incredible numbers. I mean, just knowing just a little bit about TV numbers, those are really big numbers.
It is.
That's crazy. Well, I want to find out, like, the way that Hunter and I met. We met at ICAST, and the reason that there is a professional wrestler on the podcast today is because Hunter is not just a professional wrestler; he is a very avid fisherman and hunter, and we're going to learn all about that here in just a little bit. But I want to start out with the hot seat questions. Okay, so you're familiar with the hot seat?
I am. Let's hear it.
All right. So just as off the top of your head, which one you would prefer or do, or whatever your experience is. All right. So you ready?
Let's do it.
Spinning rod or conventional?
Spinning rod.
Inshore or offshore?
Inshore, only because it's so accessible to me.
Mm-hmm. River or lake?
River.
Would you ever have a reptile as a pet?
I've always wanted one of those chameleons, actually. The ones with the long tongues and they eat the crickets or mealworms. I think that'd be cool. So yes, that's the only exception.
Coffee, tea, or energy drink?
Unsweet tea.
Unsweet tea. Mountains or beaches?
Beaches, 100%.
Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics?
I don't know. Beach volleyball is my love. So I like watching the guys and girls play beach volleyball. So I'd say summer.
Summer. Favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh man, this is a great one. I think Eddie Guerrero, dude. He's just so good and he's so violent and he's got so much passion and he just throws everything with everything he's got. So I think Eddie Guerrero for sure.
Guerrero. Best catch in your career?
So I guess it's kind of like a string of questions. I caught a permit. I caught my first permit, my first tarpon, and my first bonefish all on the fly rod that I made and a fly that I tied.
Wow.
So all three of those.
There you go. Awesome. That's a great it's a great thing. How old were you when you started tying flies?
I was in like 6th or 7th grade.
Very cool.
So whatever age that is, I'd be staying up all night long, like to 2 a.m, just tying flies, and I'd be sleeping in class. And my parents would be pissed because my teachers would be emailing them, Hunter can't stay asleep in class. What's he doing at home?
If I told you, you wouldn't believe it. He's tying flies all night. Sure. Okay, sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
A movie that makes you laugh?
Surf's Up. It's one of my favorite movies.
Surf's Up.
With the little surfing penguins.
Text or calls?
Phone calls. It's more personable.
Rock, country, or other?
Country.
Instagram or Twitter?
I don't even have a Twitter, so Instagram.
One thing you're afraid of?
Regret. I fear regretting not doing something. If I do it and I regret it, it's okay because I experience it. But if I don't go and if I don't do something and then I look back and regret it, eats me up.
Wow. Great answer. Love that. One piece of technology you rely on heavily?
My cell phone.
Favorite fish?
Tarpon.
Interesting. Android or iPhone?
iPhone for sure.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Okay, and the last one. Would you rather be a heel or a baby face?
I think a baby face because it aligns more with my personality. I don't think I could tell a kid no for an autograph. It'd break my heart to see their face.
So that's almost the extent of my wrestling knowledge for professional wrestling is that I do know what those two are called. So the heel's kind of the villain, the baby face is the good guy. And
absolutely,
you are is that where you're going? Do you think? I mean, you never know how a character that you create is going to resonate with the audience, and knowing some of the wrestlers, like even like Sting or somebody like that, or even Hulk Hogan, he goes good, he goes bad, and occasionally one of those really, really resonates with the crowd, and the others just for whatever reason don't. And so I would think that you have to be a little bit flexible, probably, or at least being willing to be flexible to find that character.
Absolutely. And a lot of the great ones, like you mentioned, they can go heel, they can go baby face. And And what's even more fun is to watch the storyline unfold of them do a transition one way or another. You know, it really gets people, it gets some people excited, it gets some people pissed off. So it's exciting, but definitely starting off babyface, and then we'll just see where the road goes.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see where the road has taken you up to now. So let's start back with kind of how you got into fishing, and you grew up in Florida, and so give me the story of how you kind of got into fishing and what that meant to you when you were growing up.
Yeah, so my both my grandfathers and my dad were all fishing guides at some point in their lives. And my dad and my grandfather and his side were dive masters and had a dive shop before I was born and when I was very young. So the water is just like everything my family loves and knows. When I was fishing, they put me in a pack and play, ratcheted strapped to the bow of the boat when I was like 6 months old in the Keys, so they could still fish and go to the sandbar and have me with them. So, I mean, I've been fishing for way longer than I could even remember. And I just always had this like seriously burning passion just to go see what's out there, just to see what I could get on the end of my line. From the time my parents would let me take my bicycle to the pond right down the road to the time to now, now I'm trying to fly around the world to go catch more fish. The passion has just grown. It's just now I'm no longer chasing bluegill and little largemouth bass in the back creek. I'm trying to go catch bonefish and permit and hopefully get to go to Mag Bay here soon.
Oh wow, that's
To
a
try
great
and,
trip.
yeah.
So how does it go? How do you kind of transition from riding your bicycle to the pond down the street? And where is that? Where did you grow up?
So there's a little town called Celebration, Disney, the most magical place ever, Disney's community. Um, there's a lot of old ponds there. So I would take my bicycle, I'd have a backpack full of jerk baits and everything you could imagine to catch a bass. And me and my buddies would go ride our bikes around all the little golf course ponds. We'd try and fish as long as we could until we got kicked out.
Was it legal to
And
fish
then,
there, or frowned upon, or
yeah, well,
welcomed, or
yeah,
what was it?
it's a little bit of both, I think. A little bit of all the above. If like the golfers were there, they wouldn't care. The way we walked in was technically legal because it was like public access, but then being on the course probably wasn't. But if the man caught us, the guy who works there, he would always get so mad. He'd always threaten to call the cops. But we're like, dude, we're just fishing.
Yeah, or a couple of 12, 13-year-old kids just fishing.
Yeah, for real. That was basically it.
It's hard to kick kids out. I mean, but it sounds like that was a pretty cool place to grow up. When you said Celebration the first time, I kind of thought, man, that seems like not a place that you would hunt and fish in Celebration.
Yeah, for sure. They actually had a major canal called Reedy Creek. It runs through miles and miles and miles of Central Florida and almost like all the way through Disney. And there was like an 8 foot wall that would protect it, and it was made of brick. And me and my friends, we bought out a little step stool and we put it at the base so we could jump off the step stool and like grab onto the top and then do a muscle up to get over just to fish the creek because it was like the best fishing we've ever seen. And we'd fish it every chance we got.
What'd you do with the step stool?
Oh, just left it in the bushes.
You had it hidden there for every time you want to
Oh
go,
yeah,
you just hide it.
yeah.
That's cool. That's super
It was a
cool.
lot of fun. We called that place Jurassic Park.
Because what kind of bass were you catching there? Like 10-pounders?
Oh yeah, my buddy, no kidding. My buddy caught a 12 and a half pounder on a scale,
Wow.
on a digital scale. I biggest bass I ever caught was like 9.8, so not quite
Wow.
10 pounds, But you tell any other random person it was a 10 pounder, they believe you.
Wow. And that's just sitting right in the middle of Celebration.
Oh yeah, I mean remarkable. We would have many days where we'd go out and catch like 30 fish a person. Like it was just crazy.
That's awesome. And those
That was
those
so
I
cool.
mean there are ponds in Disney, and I know that you can get fishing guides in the park in Disney, and people catch huge bass there too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Never
so
done that. but I've heard
how
of
do
it.
you transition over to saltwater? I mean, you as a kid, you're surfing and diving and doing everything with your parents and your uncles and your dad. Is that right?
Absolutely. So when we'd go to the Keys every single year since I was born for the first week of lobster season, and we uh, we usually would only lobster like 1 or 2 days just because we like to fish more. My dad's ate up with offshore. I'm ate up with anything. And then when I was early teens to mid teens, like a little before I could drive, my dad and I would always go surf together, and then we'd go super early and we'd fish the causeways, the little flat on either side of the causeways, and we'd catch trout and redfish and occasionally a snook here and there. And I would just get so much more excited for a snook or a redfish or
Mm.
anything in the ocean. Right? It's bigger, it pulls harder. You know, the snook jump, which I love. Anything that jumps, I go crazy for. So once I started getting my own car, man, I could go to these places, and I had a little John boat, so I was just trailing my little John boat to Mosquito Lagoon or one of the causeways or anywhere or one of the inlets where I could go, drift the bunkers for big snook and stuff. And once I could do that, I just seriously didn't look back. Like there is no reason for me to fish freshwater again. It was just all tarpon, snook, redfish, trout, whatever.
And you were able to do that all on foot, or would you also did you have a boat of some kind?
Yeah, I was able to take my little John boat out.
Oh, you said that, I think. That's cool. And so you have a trailer, or you kind of just put that in the back of a truck, or what did you do?
It had a trailer. It was so super funny. It was actually an aluminum sorry, not aluminum. It was a fiberglass John boat. Like someone had handmade this little boat. And I got it off Facebook Marketplace for $500.
Nice.
So so I actually I have a big F-250. And after the hurricanes, I'd go knock on people's doors with my chainsaw and be like, "Hey, you want that giant tree out of your yard? Give me $200." And they'd be like, "Done." So I'd just go and cut up all these trees and stuff and haul them to the dump for people. And I was able to buy like a little old outboard, this little fiberglass John boat, and a piece of crap trailer that it came with. And I pieced together a little Frankenstein boat.
That's awesome. What did you
Yeah.
know about cutting down trees?
Nothing. I knew how a chain I knew how a chainsaw worked because I used them, a few times just to cut up some stupid stuff here and there because I wanted to when I was a kid. Uh, and then I quickly learned how chainsaws worked and how often they broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, so that was it. I mean,
So
just
did you
drove
ever fall
around
a
and trial
tree?
and error.
Did you ever fall a tree in a bad place, like accidentally on somebody's house, or
So no. So luckily I wasn't falling any trees. If they were too gnarly, I actually had a good family friend who was a real landscaper. So I'd have him come out and fall the trees. But if it was just like big trees in people's yards or in their backyard, on their fence, whatever it was, and it was already on the ground, I'd cut those up.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I couldn't have that much liability.
well, I know a little bit about chainsaws and stuff too, but man, sometimes trees, like if they're under tension or whatever, I don't know how to deal with that. Like, and it just
Yeah.
kind of scares me. Like if it, not to know how to do it. And then I watch like my friend's an arborist, and he loves climbing up these trees, and he brings 3 or 4 or 5 guys with him, and they've all got radios, and they're doing all this stuff, and they start at the top and start cutting the tree down from the top, and they have a
No
crane.
kidding.
So the crane, like this is how they had to take a big tree out of my yard, but the crane is up, and they start at the top, and so the guy climbs all the way up to the top, chops the branches off, and then the crane puts it down, and then they just take it down
That's
like
gnarly.
that, and they can take down a huge tree in a very tight space without
Yeah.
falling the tree anywhere. And but I mean, watching them work, I mean that's an art to how that. I mean, they look at the hillside and the way the tree's growing, and they're like, man, if we cut it here, it's going to fall right over there. They hope, but
Oh yeah, no,
there's
it's
a million
definitely not.
videos on YouTube of where it does not fall, where you hope. hope.
Yeah, that could be a costly mistake.
Yeah. So you're fishing as a kid, you're getting into saltwater fishing, and then how? I mean, it seems like a connect us to the wrestling. How does, like, you're kind of living in celebration. Sounds like you're more interested in hunting and fishing and surfing than you are in school. And
For sure.
and so where's the connection to today? Like, how does that, do you keep hunting and fishing after you got a car? Because a lot of people, like, for me, that when I got a car or a driver's license, that was certainly the end of my golf career. Like, that was my outlet. Like, I had this little golf course we could go to, and my parents are like, they had some sort of membership to where you could hit as many balls as you want. So as a kid, I'd ride my bike over there. That was kind of an outlet. You could just do that. And then when I got my driver's license, I was like, man, there are girls and water skiing and other things to do, and I'm not interested in that. And a lot of people do that with hunting and fishing, but some people get way more into it because now, like you said, you have the freedom to go wherever you want to go, and you're learning all these new places to fish. So what'd you do in high school? Did you keep fishing?
Oh yeah, so everything exploded in high school. Um, I no one in my family really hunted except for my grandpa. Um, and unfortunately he passed when I was still pretty young. He was like my best friend. So he taught me how to deer hunt. Um, and in high school I'd drive out to public land, and if we had the day or if we got out of school early, I would just walk and walk and walk and walk in the woods until I'd see so many deer rubs on the trees and scrapes on the ground. So I was like, all right, there's got to be deer here. So I started bow hunting a lot in high school. Still fished as much as I could, but when hunting season came around, I was really locked in. And then fell in love with that, and taught myself how to duck hunt, taught myself how to hunt turkeys. And I just asked as many people as I could, hey, what about this? What about this? I tried this. This didn't work. What happened? And, they would just explain to me, and I would just watch YouTube videos. And like I mentioned before, um, my father and I grew up watching your TV show.
Yeah,
And,
nice.
that was one of those avenues that taught me more and more about saltwater fishing, right? The different knots and needing a fluorocarbon leader or at least a mono leader, and the different tides to use and the different types of rods for different scenarios. Like, this was all foreign to me. I was just used to bass and bluegill. Um, so I went through. I got a scholarship to play Division I college football. Um, and I picked a location because it was only 10 minutes from 23,000 acres of public land, and it was 25 to 30 minutes from where I grew up surfing in Ponce Inlet, New Smyrna.
Wow. So what school is that?
Stetson University,
Stetson.
out in DeLand.
Okay.
Yep. We just played Montana State the other day. The boys didn't do too good.
Oh, was that
Montana.
on their homecoming? Because I was just in Bozeman this weekend. They didn't play this weekend, right? It was the weekend before.
It was the weekend before.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
But Montana
Yeah.
State's good this year.
They're unreal.
They're really good this year. It's a surprise, really, because my boys, both my boys went to Montana State. One of them has graduated. One of them has one semester left. And for their entire career, I don't think that they have been that good. Certainly not this year. But this weekend, so my daughter also goes to Auburn. And this weekend, we had finished our elk hunt, and we came back and we were super tired. And so we thought, well, we'll just watch some football, and hang out and wash clothes and, clean up all our stuff. And so I was trying to watch the Auburn, Georgia game, but it kept serving me up the Montana State Bobcats versus whoever they were playing. I can't remember who they were playing, but and we couldn't watch the Auburn, Georgia game because of our location on YouTube TV. It just kept I mean, I tried everything. I turned off the location settings. I turned off everything, and I kept getting the Montana State game. And so, anyway, we ended up watching the Montana State game, and they were pretty good. I was really surprised at how good they were.
Yeah, they're a sound team. I mean, they're big, they're disciplined. Like, they know what's going on, man. They got it. They got it going on over there right now. This year, and even last year, they were super good.
Yeah. What position did you play?
Defensive end. So in high school, I played both defensive end and tight end. Got recruited for a few small places for tight end. but sound like a sissy, but I got my head taken off one game and like decapitated. And ever since then, I wasn't as good as catching the ball, but I could bend the corner super good and get after the quarterback or get in the backfield. So the defensive end was definitely my love.
All right. So you played defensive end all the way through college?
Yeah, so I was defense end the whole time, and then I was a backup long snapper just because I could do it. They like to travel less people, so I could do both roles. Um, but yeah, I mean, college was just so much fun. My like those guys I spent that much time with are like truly my brothers, and everyone's going through the same hell together.
Mm-hmm.
Guys would come back to my school and say, "Oh, enjoy high school, enjoy high school." When you get to college, it's a lot of fun, but it's a job, it's work. I mean, they would have us there for hours and hours and hours a day with a practice, a walkthrough, a lift, and then 2-3 meetings, especially if you're on special teams. So it was a lot, but I wouldn't trade a single second for anything.
So when you finish your football career, you graduate, what do you think you're going to do at that point?
Yeah, so I was really locked in on sales. I enjoy sales. I was during the summers in college. I would work as a salesman for Liquid Planet Marine, and I was just set on going into sales afterwards. And then it was beginning of my senior year. The WWE reached out to me on a DM on Instagram. And I looked at it, I was like, this has got to be fake, whatever. And then I see that the account's verified and it's got 1 million and something followers. I was like, okay, maybe I'll give him the interview. So I took the interview with Brad. He was a recruiter at the time. He liked me, pushed me forward to another interview. They liked me, and they ended up inviting me to a tryout at IMG Academy, where they flew 32 people in from around the world. We had a guy from Nigeria, London, Canada, and Australia, and then people from Washington and California, all over. And it was a 3-day tryout where they tested literally everything. Like they kind of tried to break you, for those 3 days, see what you were made of. And we wrestled like I've never wrestled before, which previous to this, I never watched wrestling 1 second of my life. Like I had no clue what was going on coming into this. I actually, it might not be good to say out loud, but I don't even know who Shawn Michaels was. So we get there, we do our thing, and we do promos, and we do different types of agility things, and we do all kinds of different things in the ring to see how athletic we are. And I was very fortunate to be one of the 4 men who got contracts from the entire tryout.
Wow.
Yeah, 4 men and 2 women were awarded.
I mean,
yeah, it was.
I just watched this. Have you? You may not have. You're probably pretty busy, but I just watched this show on Netflix called Wrestlers. Have you seen that?
I think so. Out of the one gym up in
Ohio,
the Northeast. Yeah.
Al Snow.
Yeah.
See,
I saw the first episode.
Man, I mean, I have a fascination with wrestling mostly because when I grew up, there's only 3 channels on TV, and one of the you would wake up and the fishing shows were on early, and so I'd watch all the fishing shows with my dad, and then we would watch the next thing that came on was Georgia Championship Wrestling, and so we'd watch Georgia Championship, and everybody that most people have ever heard of came through Georgia Championship in some way, shape, or form. I mean, you saw them.
Oh yeah.
And it was really big, and then roller derby would come on after that. And so my dad had clocked out at some of the wrestling, and he'd gone on to do whatever. But I ended up watching fishing shows, professional wrestling, and roller derby. Call me a redneck. I don't know. I thought it was awesome. And
what a morning.
Yeah, what a morning is right. I mean, about 11:30, you were like, okay, I'm ready to tackle the world here. We can do whatever. But wrestling, I just found it to be like pretty interesting, and a lot of people are surprised like that that I might be a wrestling fan, but I was an amateur wrestler, and so there was a temptation to not like professional wrestling because it people would say it's fake or whatever. But man, I'll tell you, I don't think that there is any more difficult way to make a living than being a professional wrestler. I think
Oh,
that
it's
it must be so hard. I don't know. I've never done it, but I want to hear. I want to hear what you're saying, because you got into this as somebody that didn't really know a lot about wrestling, but you're very athletic. How big are you?
6'4", 235 pounds right now.
235. How big were you when you played football?
I was 240 to 245. I'd fluctuate quite a bit, but I was also 10% body fat when I was 240, 243.
Wow. So
So I was,
you're
I was a
big.
big
You're a
dude.
big athletic guy, and and also you got this whole look that is perfect for wrestling. But that's probably
Thank
not
you.
the only thing that. I mean, what do you think got you through this this tryout? And I ask that because I'm watching this wrestling show, Wrestlers, and it's about this kind of lower level. I don't want to pay them any
Mhm.
disrespect. It's a regional wrestling thing, and these people, they know everything about wrestling. They have generations of wrestlers, and they're all trying to make it to where you are, and they're doing
Yeah.
I mean, they are working so hard, and they are living in their car, and they are jumping off anything they ask them to, and it just looks so tough. And then
Oh, it's brutal.
yeah, and so now, like, you have this opportunity and you make it through. And what do you think it was that helped you to secure that contract?
Yeah. So first off, I just got extremely blessed that they reached out to me. The recruiter found me on the Instagram, and I kind of dove into it. And then once I got to the tryout, I was just as bubbly as possible, which is not too far from my normal self. Um, and I could speak really well into a microphone. I could get up on stage in front of as many people, and it just doesn't matter to me. A lot of people really just crumpled when they had to speak in front of that many people, and we're all ex-professional athletes, collegiate athletes. There was an Olympian there, so I mean they're bringing in the baddest people from around the world. And I got up there, and I don't know if you know who Grayson Waller is. He's probably the number one dude right now in the WWE to do promos.
Okay.
And when we're in the ring, they say your full name and say the number on your shirt. So I was like, okay, well, I got to stand out. The WWE is all about being different. So I would get up there and I'd be like, I'm small, back, 21, and I'm the future. Right. So I'd give them a little something extra. And then people started copying me, and they started saying something too. And then so maybe like the sixth or seventh time I get up there and I go, Smallback 21, and I'm here to replace you. And I point right at Grayson Waller, bro. And I have no clue who he is at this point. No clue who he is. And he points to himself and looks at me. He's like, oh, you mean me? I was like, yes, sir. And he laughed. He goes, oh, just wait till I get the microphone. I'm going to bury you. And I was like, oh, no. So fast forward a couple hours. We did wrestling for like 3 hours straight. And we went into our first promo. And again, I never watched wrestling before. I had no clue what I was walking into. So everyone's rehearsing their lines and whatnot. And I'm like, wait a second, you guys wrote stuff down? And and they start laughing, and they're like, you didn't? I was like, no, I don't know what to expect. So I walk in there, and I was only the second person to go. But before everyone went, they said, okay, now we're going to bring up our number one promo guy, the best in the business, Grayson Waller, get up here. And he's walking down the aisle, and he locks eyes with me the entire way down. He was staring at me the whole way he walks down, and I'm just like, oh, brother, I'm screwed. So he gets up there, and he's telling us all of his accolades, everything he's accomplished and he's done. And then he gets to the end, and he's like, one of you sorry little losers had the audacity to call me out in the ring today. And he starts laying into me, right? He's like, you can't even do a shoulder roll right, blah, blah, blah. And he's going at me so hard. And I'm sinking in my seat. And I'm like, oh, God. But he never says my name, but he's staring at me the whole time. So he gets the mic, everyone claps. I'm the second person to go, and I'm like, I gotta wing it. Like, what am I good at? So I stand up and I'm like, I'm Hunter Smallback, and I'm the future. I've summited frozen mountaintops. I've outran avalanches on my snowboard. I've speared man-sized tuna off the coast of Los Sueños. And then I throw my hands up. And I was like, so it's only fitting I was the one to make Grayson Waller so nervous with just one remark. He was sweating through his fake spray tan. And the whole room started dying laughing, right? The coaches are laughing. I look at him. He's laughing. I had my hands up, and I was like, I'm Hunter Smallback, and I'm here to stay.
Wow.
It was awesome.
And that went over.
Yeah, it went over. Afterwards, he came up and shook my hand. He was like, mate, that was awesome. Like, you established yourself. You poke fun of me without putting me down. And like, you again restated your name and stated what you were here for. And like, that was perfect. Do every promo like that. And ever since then, it's been good.
That's awesome. And so talking into the microphone, obviously, if you've ever watched professional wrestling, that is a real big part of it, because you got to develop these storylines. You've got to create this character, and you have to have it. That's a big part of it, is these interviews beforehand,
Yeah.
and the promos. That's what they call them, I guess. What about the actual wrestling and being in the ring and learning from knowing really nothing and learning how to do this? Like, was that difficult?
Oh yeah, and it's still difficult. It's a steep learning curve for me, because like I could sit there and look at the way a left tackle has his hand in his dirt, or his leg cocked, or when he kick steps and he does this is coming next. So I could sit there and I could pick that apart all day long. But I've never watched wrestling, so people are like, oh, just get out there and flow. And I was like, oh, I really don't know what flowing is. I have no prior knowledge, but our coaches are so good, man. Like, we got Hall of Famers as our coach. Robbie Brookside and William Regal really help us a lot to get us started. They say they hatch our eggs. So Brookside really kind of takes in the new wrestlers and just molds them into like a real old-fashioned wrestler, right? Which is, in my opinion, kind of the best. Because so they give us all the tools, they give us all the fundamentals, all the basics, everything we need to know. And we just 1,000 reps. I mean, we're taking bump after bump after bump in his class, which is tough on the body. But you don't get good at something if you don't do 1,000 reps, 10,000 reps, whatever it is. And then from there, we kind of get divided up, and based on your skill set, we go into different coaches' classes. And it's just so interesting, man, because once you leave the first class, you feel like you have a decent knowledge of what's going on. And then you get to the next class and you know nothing again. But you get to wrestle with these older guys and these more veteran people, and you just learn so much so fast just by just observing, right? And again, this is how I taught myself how to hunt. It's how I taught myself a majority of my fishing, is just observing and just trying to take as much in as possible.
Wow, that's super cool. And how hard is it on the body? I mean, like, people are like, I don't know. When I talk about professional wrestling, they're like, oh, it's all fake. I'm like, dude, that's a 300-pound guy doing a backflip off of the third rope.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to not quite hit you, but he's got to sell it like he just squashed you. You don't think that guy could be a couple of inches off and freaking break 3 ribs when he comes down, like, or tweak your shoulder, or tweak his own shoulder as he's coming down, happens. Or, I mean, like, it just seems so tough. And some of these guys are old. Like, some of the superstars, they're in their late 40s, man. Like, dang, that guy's still out there doing it. And of course, maybe they're not jumping off the third rope, but they're taking somebody jumping off the third rope. And it's like, wow, that is athletic. I mean, that's athletic. And yes, it's choreographed, but man, you don't think they do it perfect every time. There's no way they do it perfect every time. And then tomorrow night you're wrestling again, and then you're wrestling again, and then you're wrestling again. I always thought the 2 toughest ways to make a living probably professional wrestler and rodeo cowboy. Those seem
Oh
like
yeah.
those seem like just tough on the body. So what's your experience so far?
Oh man, it's been brutal. I like there's nothing fake about a slam, right? When you have another man your size or bigger than me, and he's lifting you above his head and slamming you on the ground, I don't care if it's a trampoline, which it's not, right? It's giant wood planks with like an inch pad on it, just so you don't blow your elbow out when it slams into the mat. But it's like a miniature car crash every single time. And in football, you could go through someone, and if you deliver the hit, it's okay. You don't feel much, and your adrenaline's up. So in wrestling, when you're getting bought over another man's head, and you're getting slammed into the dirt. There's no way to be the hammer in that part. You were the nail, right? You were the one taking the full brunt into the blow. So it's just tough, man. They have massages for us every Tuesday and Wednesday. We can get massages. They have just people there waiting for us, which is nice. So take full advantage of those. Go to the chiropractor at least once a week. My chiropractor is actually awesome too. Born to Move. He actually gives us he's got people there that massage us as well. So I get like 2 massages a week, get adjusted, and then just stay stretching and stay lifting and all that good stuff that, I've done my whole life as an athlete. Just really protects you. And the crazy thing is I've always had a big neck because I've always had to lug around a football helmet. But we do like neck strengthening work exercises every day, because if you don't tuck your chin when you hit that you hit someone or you hit the ground or something and you get whiplash, I mean, it's an instant concussion.
So how do you train your neck? Do you use that iron neck?
No, so we do a lot of things where we'll just be on the bench, and you can set a 25-pound plate on your forehead or 10-pound on the back, or someone could push their palm on your forehead or wherever, so you can manually use manual resistance. But the interesting thing is everyone's really on the X or Y axis, right? But
what do you mean? What do you mean? Explain that.
So everyone's going forward to back,
right,
or side to side.
Yes.
Right. But in the WWE, we're taking and we did these all the time in college football and even high school as well. But with the WWE, we do things where we come all the way to the back shoulder blade, all the way to your forward left pec, right? So you're getting these different motions, and we even do twisting, right? So we're practicing how to twist under tension. So literally every muscle fiber in your neck is getting abused, so we got to strengthen it in all situations as well.
You feel like that's helped to prevent injury?
100%.
Would you suggest that for just regular people to be training their neck?
I would say any regular athlete, yes. Middle school, high school, especially college, and especially if you're a contact sport. Your head is a big kind of goofy thing, and if you don't have a strong neck to protect it, it's just so easy to get concussions, or even these minor concussions people just brush under the rug. 2 of those, 3 of those are just as bad as a real big severe one. And it just protects you fully.
Yeah. In amateur wrestling, we worked on the neck all the time, and what I have left from that is that I can't fit in any dress shirt.
Yeah.
Because I got short arms and a giant neck. And so if I get a shirt that fits me in the arms or fits me in the neck, the arms hang down like I'm wearing my dad's shirt and I'm 8 years old. So I have to get custom shirts, or just never do the top button.
Yeah, for sure.
But that iron neck thing I'm talking about, have you ever seen that thing? It's like a halo that you wear on your head, and then your head can move, but you have a resistance band that goes down, and so you are turning under tension. I've been thinking about getting one of those things because it's just an interesting thing where it's the tension. You can have the tension either on the back or the front, but then you can, it's pulling you forward, and you're strengthening your neck like that. It's pretty cool.
Sounds like something I need to invest in.
Well, I'm surprised they don't have one there. I really am.
Yeah.
Like they talk about, Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. The iron neck. That's what it's called. I'm sure they'd send you one, dude. If they thought that they could get into the WWE training facility, I'm sure they would send a ton of them. But I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
I
I
mean,
need to reach out to him.
those guys have been training their neck for what 100 years now. So I think they probably know what they're doing. But that you always come up with new things. So are some of the people that you're training with, do they get injured and have to take time off or surgeries or
Oh yeah,
like
it happens all the time, which is a scary part, because it's how we're making our livelihood, and not only that, but no one wants to walk around with a torn ACL or a broken
right,
leg or a bad concussion or a messed up shoulder. And it sounds crazy. And if you're not a former athlete, it's going to sound even more crazy. But it gets to a point where you almost enjoy like walking around a little beat up because
well,
you feel
yeah,
accomplished.
right.
When like you go hit a good leg day, you're sore, but like, yeah, I put the work in. So now I'm gonna reap the benefits. Now I'm gonna grow and I'm gonna get bigger. And now like your back's a little sore when you sit down, or your shoulders kind of aching, but that you put the time in. You're in a lack of a better sense, you're sacrificing your body for what you love.
Right.
And for the entertainment of other people.
I mean,
So
that is
it's
true. That is exactly what you're doing. You're sacrificing your body for the entertainment of other people, and then you have to take care of that. I would imagine that probably the recovery protocol in professional wrestling has gotten way better because, like, if you look at some of the old documentaries on wrestling, and I got to spend the day with Diamond Dallas Page, and he was on the podcast, and it was just amazing. And he's created this DDP yoga,
yeah.
which is all about like restoring movement. I mean, he's working with. I just saw he's working with Mick Foley right now, Mankind and Dude Love.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy. I don't think that there's anyone on the planet that took more of a beating than that guy. I mean, it was. I mean, the things he did were crazy. Like those cage matches, and the Undertaker was up on the top of the cage. He flips him over. He goes through the cage and lands on 10,000 thumbtacks.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just crazy.
I mean,
Just crazy.
he really landed on that many thumbtacks. It's like, and he stands up, and they're just his whole back is covered in thumbtacks. Like,
Oh yeah.
that's not fake. That's
No.
it's choreographed, but he actually did that, and for him to be walking around now is just unbelievable. But that's what what DDP's yoga has helped so many, Jake the Snake and all these guys to regain some of their mobility and do it in a way that they can lose weight, get off some drugs that because that's got to be a common cycle that you get injured, you have to work, you could end up I mean, especially in the days of OxyContin, early OxyContin, when people didn't understand how addictive that was. I mean, it seems like a lot of those guys got messed up with that. But anyway, I would just imagine that they've gotten better at helping you to recover and prevent injury. Like how much when you're learning these moves and you're learning like the flow, do they talk about, okay, like if you do it like this, you're going to break your shoulder. If you
Oh yeah.
you got to do it like this. Are they showing you how to do that? Like
100%. Yes. I mean, they literally show us everything. Like as if you were someone like me that never watched it is how they teach it. And it's being an athlete. It's easy to pick up on, at least for me. But what's hard is connecting all the dots, right? You could have this many things in your arsenal, but then you also you have to know how to flow to get to the next place. You have to, if he does this, you're going to do this and react. But yeah, I mean, the ways that we learn is to make wrestling as safe as possible, right? Now it's still a barbaric sport, but if we do it properly, it is safe enough,
yeah, safe enough to get out of the ring that night and be able to do it again the next night.
Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of, just in my couple months of being there, when I was first learning how to take a hip toss, right? Someone's literally picking you up, slamming you over their head, and you're landing on your back. I'm very competitive, and I wasn't learning it. And my classmates were like doing really good at it, and I was getting so mad. So I was taking hip toss after hip toss after hip toss after hip toss, and I was landing on my hip, and it actually jacked my hip up so bad. It was painful to walk for like 3 weeks. And the first week after, like I couldn't lift. I could barely walk right. Um, and they did everything in their ability to get me healthy. I was doing dry needling. I was getting adjusted every other day. They'd sent me to a specialist to get an MRI on my hip immediately to see exactly what the problem was, so we could dive into it right away. And this there's so many trainers that like there's never really idle time, right? There's always work to be done. There's always something to do to get better. And they really just provide that for you, which is great.
That's super cool. So
Yeah.
with where you are right now, how much time does it leave for hunting and fishing? I mean, we had you on the show. That was cool.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah. So that worked out.
looking forward to doing that. But how much time do you have for hunting and fishing?
So not as much as I'd like, but I don't think I'll ever have as much time as I like until I'm retired to live on the water. But so just this Wednesday, not tomorrow, but the next day, I'm actually headed out to Canada in Saskatchewan to go duck hunting for 3 days.
Right on.
Yeah, it's
That's
just gonna be
so
a
cool.
5 day trip. Oh, I'm so excited.
So I'm going
Five.
there too, but not Saskatchewan. I'm going further west, like
Okay.
almost due north of Bozeman. I'm taking my dad there. Are you doing a dry field hunt?
We are. Yeah. This
Yeah,
will be
that's
the
what we're
first
doing.
time.
I've never done it.
That's so cool. Yep. First time I've ever hunted over land. I've always been in the swamp or over
Right.
big water. And I've never seen a goose, you
Oh,
know?
you're gonna love
So,
those. They're huge. I
oh,
mean,
yeah.
they're really huge. Um, Definitely a 12 gauge kind of sport rather than a 20 gauge sport.
Oh, for sure.
But man, that's going to be awesome. And so, who are you doing that with?
So, one of my best friends, we played college football together. We're going up together, but uh, I just met a dude through a mutual friend, and he lives in Canada. He's actually a biologist, and we got linked up. And I was like, "Listen, dude, like I've never been to Canada. I'd love to come to fly fish or hunt or do anything, and like I'll take you fishing. Like, what do you want to catch? Tell me, and we'll go do it. And then return the favor." So I took him out. We caught a bunch of sea trout, speckled sea trout on the fly rod, which was his first saltwater fish ever.
Nice.
And we were catching some on gurglers too, so he was freaking out seeing them come up, eat off the surface. And then once the tide was moving good enough, we went and had the little pilot trolling motor. We got in front of one of the bunkers. We started drifting mullet and jumped probably a 40-pound tarpon and landed probably like a 15-pounder.
Nice.
And he was just so ecstatic, man. He was like, "Oh, we got to have you out. We got to have you up. Duck hunting is probably the best thing I could put you on. The most excitement." I was like, "Well, good. Duck hunting is one of my favorites anyways." So, but this was like 10 to 11 months in advance. So, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking this guy's full of crap. He just wants to go fishing, but it's cool. I love to fish. So just to share that with someone was okay. And then about 3 months out, I hit him up and I was like, "Hey, man, still love to come duck hunt." He said, "Great. Here's the dates. I'll be there. Pick." And I took 2 days off of work and able to make this little 5 day trip happen.
Oh, that's awesome. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be really great. I really have high hopes. My dad's 85, and we're going we're going to do a similar type thing with an outfitter. But I looked long and hard for a place that I could take him. That I mean, duck hunting up north in Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, that area is
It's
usually
treacherous.
waders, some kind of John boat. Flooded timber where there's stumps and stuff underneath the water. It's not really a place I wanted to take my dad for this duck hunt. So I was looking for something that might be somehow easier, and I came across this hunt. And one of my best friends is going to be up there with us and his family. So really looking
That's
forward to
awesome.
this. I just hope it's good that we have some action because That's my dad's favorite type of hunting, duck hunting for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Loves it, and really looking forward to it. That's gonna be great. I'll look forward to seeing how you do up there too. We'll exchange
Well, for
pictures.
sure.
Hopefully
For
it'll
sure.
be a similar deal. I've talked to a number of people that have been up there doing that kind of hunting, and apparently it can be really good, like really, really good. So I'm
Oh
hoping for
yeah.
the best.
Not only is like the variety of species like just so abundant, but you could kill, and my numbers would probably be wrong. This is just, me trying to remember what my buddy told me. You can kill eight ducks, which four of them can be pintail, which here in Florida you can only kill one pintail regardless of sex. Sorry. So four ducks is like eight ducks, eight Canada geese, like 12 speckle bellies, and 20 snow geese, and five sandhill cranes. Like,
And you can
you
get
can
the
kill all that in
sandhills.
one day.
You can
Yeah,
get the
yeah.
sandhills without a special permit or anything.
Just like you would do ducks, you get the
Really?
sandhills, which is crazy. Yeah.
Wow. They
Here in
call
here
that
in
the
Florida, you can't even kill them.
the filet mignon of the sky. I've never
Yeah,
eaten
yeah.
one. I've never eaten one, but I hear they're really good.
Yeah, same here. Again, I've never eaten one, but I've heard they are delicious.
Yeah.
So, and I love to cook too. So, I'm super excited to go get a freezer full of meat.
Right on. Good job. That'll be fun. Yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be really great. So where do people watch you wrestle? How does somebody follow you and watch what you're doing and see you wrestle, maybe even in person?
Yeah, so you guys can follow me on Instagram. That's where I kind of post the most, which is just H Smallback, like small as in a child and back. But you could also see, hopefully soon. I haven't had my like real debut yet, but on A&E and then on Peacock. That'd be the best way to follow us. And then you could also follow WWE NXT on Instagram or any social media platform, and they post just great content all the time.
Nice. And do you have any idea when your debut might be? Is it up to you, or is it up to them to pick
If it
you?
was up
And
to me, I would have.
well, I mean, like when I say up to you, like how hard you work, can you progress much faster than they expected? Is it like a sport, like you can earn your spot, or do you have to kind of wait for the right time?
So it's a little bit of everything. Um, Character development is huge, which I've just recently kind of figured out like a good character
Yeah, I
that
want to
people
hear
are
it. It's
liking.
got to be. I hope it's going to be Ernest Hemingway-esque. You're catching
Yeah,
these. You're catching marlin and boxing and doing all the Ernest Hemingway things. It seems like that would be a
so
great character.
no, it's funny you mentioned that. It actually is very close to that. I tell people my inspiration is like the most interesting man in the world from the Dos Equis commercial and
Yeah,
Steve Irwin.
nice.
So it's kind of a mix between those, and it's just fun, energetic, and I just kind of tell stories of hunting and fishing and adventures, and then I loop that back into wrestling Broad Breaker, or someone else in the ring. So it's fun, man. It's just so fun.
And do you get coaching on character development too? Certainly you
Oh
do.
yeah, oh yeah. We get equal as amount coaching with that as we do wrestling, which is
And they
wild.
think that's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah, they're liking it. So I like it as well. It's so much easier to dive into something you already love, right? If they wanted my character to be like a chess player or a video game player, I just want to know how to relate, which I do like chess, but yeah, they want it to be original to you, you know. They kind of tell us like take your normal self and turn it up to 10, right?
Yeah,
Turn it up to 100 times, and there you go. There's your persona.
that's it. And that's you,
Yeah,
hunter,
yeah,
fisherman, surfer. How about the snowboarding? Are you a snowboarder, or was that
yeah.
is that
Absolutely love the snowboard, man. I skied throughout my life till I was probably like 9 or so, and maybe a little older, probably like 13 or so. And my dad snowboarded and I'd surfed, and my dad's a big time surfer, so is my uncle. And I was like, dude, I gotta try snowboarding. Like, I just have to do it. and picked it up in 2 days.
Right.
Like by the third day, I hit my first black diamond. So I just picked it up super quick and just seriously never even considered skiing again because snowboarding to me is so much fun.
Yeah. Where was your first place that you went?
Um, Beach Mountain in North Carolina.
In North Carolina.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Beach and Sugar Mountain, and then once I started snowboarding, started traveling a ton, and I've been all over Utah and Colorado. And now, like the main thing I do is we'll take the highest chairlift up, and then we'll hike to the complete summit of the mountain. Like can't go any higher, and then we'll just rip it down the backcountry the whole time. And the snow is just so pristine and it's so steep, but like it's so exciting, dude. It's unmatched. You know, it's like hooking a tarpon and watching them sky 5 times in a row. You get the same just like knee shaking, like heartbeat, just screaming excitement, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know about the knees shaking. That's even still to this day it still happens with the big tarpon. That's
Yeah.
so cool. So man, I wish you luck. When we're gonna have we had Hunter on the show on Saltwater Experience, which will be a 2024 show. Probably I think it's going to be on Discovery Channel in the second quarter. Is when we start that, so you can watch out for that as well. We had a great day that day. It was really fun, and lots of snook on that show. And then Hunter got to see the veracity of the sharks in the backcountry of the Everglades, which I'm sure you've seen before. But that particular day, they were pretty aggressive.
I've seen some gnarly sharks up here, but I've never seen them like that.
I mean, dude,
You
that's
know,
how it is down there, man. They are
don't.
they are ravenous.
No, yeah, I don't know how much you want me to say because I don't want to give anything away for the excitement for the TV show. But I seriously have never seen sharks just that ferocious and that on top of us. Like, it made fishing very, very interesting. It was crazy. It was
We pulled
crazy.
up to this spot, and Rich was like, "Okay, so basically, at the last spot, you were able to just kind of fight these fish any way you wanted to. Well, that's over, and you're going to need to fight them as fast as you can possibly fight them." And man, he was so right. I mean, we were like boat swinging nice snook into the boat, just slinging them in there to keep them away from the sharks. It was crazy. And then once that happens a few times, you just got to move. Like
Yeah,
that's all you got. But
and then
it'll make for an exciting TV show, for sure. It made for an exciting fishing experience. I can tell you that. I mean, like nobody wants to see a snook get bit in half, and we managed to keep
especially
all
not
of
me.
ours from getting attacked. That was
Yeah,
pretty amazing. But everybody had to be super. I mean, if you just let off a little bit, they were coming in. I mean, those
yeah.
sharks were right behind them.
We need to make an episode and go build one of those bamboo fly rods in the Blue Ridge
I
Mountains.
know.
Have you seen that?
Yes, it's amazing. I want to have that guy on the podcast.
You need to. That guy's a badass.
Yeah, well, it's such a cool story too, because like, who wants to buy a $3,000 bamboo rod these days that
No.
doesn't have a guarantee? You could break it. And that's what he was doing. He was a very high end craftsman, and then he got this idea from somewhere to do these classes where you learn how to make your own rod. And so instead of taking the same amount of time and making one fly rod, he's now teaching 30 people how to do it.
Yeah.
And he's killing it. He's killing it because it's so cool. Like, people don't necessarily even want to maybe even fish with that. Maybe they'd fish with it a couple of times, but it's like,
Yeah.
man, I don't want to break it, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody does fish with it. I don't know. But wanting to learn how to do it, like to have another kind of little thing about the sport, like you learn how to tie flies, and you learn how to do all of these different things, and then you learn how to build a rod, and then you learn how to build a cane rod, and then maybe you learn how to
Yeah.
build build a wooden drift boat. Like, some people do
Yeah.
that. But there's just so many things in fishing, and especially fly fishing, that you can it's like a craft, and
Oh
you
yeah.
can keep going down these little holes, these little rabbit holes, to learn more and more and more. And building a bamboo rod, it would be super cool. And that's
Oh
where I
yeah,
would go to do it. And I've heard nothing but good things about that guy. Yeah, you
100%.
should do that.
Yeah, I would love to. So, Tom, I love to bow hunt. I'm obsessed with chasing whitetail with a bow hunt, with a bow. But you get to chase elk with a
Mm.
bow, which to me has got to be the pinnacle of hunting anywhere in the world.
Dude, I
Tell me
mean,
about your trip you just went on.
you said the right thing, that chasing them is is the fun part. Luckily,
Yeah.
because we have had success. So my son and I have killed elk before, and but man, I gotta say, I think elk hunting is maybe the most difficult thing I've ever tried to do. It with a bow.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's really right up there. And there are some kind of comparisons to fishing, like fly fishing for permit is definitely hard, and it takes a lot of time to, you know, to make a lot of mistakes, to learn a little bit from each one, and then actually start to make it happen. You're having success, and then you're replicating that success. But it takes a really long time for you to be so confident in permit fishing on fly that you're doing everything right where you expect to catch one, right? Like that. That takes a while, and I certainly got
Yeah.
there. And I was doing a lot of permit fly fishing, and there's so much about this learning process about bow hunting for elk that's very similar to the permit, like
Well,
very similar.
what's cool about the elk, a little different about the permit, is when you're chasing permit, you might have to pull miles, but you're not scaling miles up
See,
mountains and then down the backside of it to another
that's
one.
right. That's the difference, I think, is that permit fishing is very challenging. Tarpon fishing is very challenging, but and maybe one of the two people is poling and pushing hard, and there's no doubt that there's a lot of incredibly physical effort that goes into both of those type of fishing, but not like elk hunting. I mean, elk hunting, first of all, wherever you're hunting, find the steepest hill, and that's where they're going to be. And then once you
Yeah.
get up to the top of that hill and you reach, a false summit, you're like, okay, well, that's definitely the top of this hill. So that's as high as we can
Oh,
go. And this hill is the steepest hill around here. And somehow you get to the top of that, and you got to go higher, and you got to go higher, and you still keep going higher. I don't know how it was. One time last year we went and we hiked uphill all day. Like we were uphill half the day, and I'm like, well, at least it's going to be all downhill from here. No, no, it was uphill, maybe a little downhill, and then more uphill,
so
then a little downhill, and then more uphill, and then somehow we came uphill back to the truck, and I'm like, how does that happen?
so so Tom, you're telling me just like my grandpa's stories, you went uphill both
I'm
ways?
telling you, it's uphill both ways. Into the wind, because
Uh,
into the wind, uphill both ways, and yeah, I don't know how it happens, but that's where they are. And then you get way up to the top of this hill, and you're looking with binoculars, and you finally are like, okay, there they are. Okay, I see them, and they're on another hill over across this valley, and those are the only ones you can find, and so those are the ones you're going after. But in order to get there with the wind, you got to go around the backside of that hill, up over the top of it,
yeah.
and then drop down on them like that. That's the only way you're going
And
to get there, because
and hope they're still there.
yeah, and 90% chance that they're not going to be.
Yeah.
But they can smell so well and from so far away. And I don't know, I just have a tremendous respect for the elk. And the more that I go after them, the more respect I have for them. Like that is a tough animal. And, they can, for example, we would look in these binoculars and find a herd of elk. We're like, okay, we got to get there. And we check the wind, and we figure out how we could get there. And we could get right up in there on them if you do it right with the wind. But when you finally get up there, it looked like a flat area where they're just walking around, grazing, laying down. The two bulls are sparring. There's some spikes that are
That's so cool.
sparring. We saw like you know elk cows are up on their hind legs fighting each other with their front hooves.
Yeah, it's
We saw
crazy.
everything. It was incredible. But you're watching that from binoculars and you're like, oh, that's just a nice little meadow where they found a nice kind of flat spot to be up there. And then you get up there and literally I had trekking poles, to go up the hill because it really helps for me to be able to keep up with somebody your age, my boys. And I'm in pretty good shape, but still, man, I mean, it is so steep. But we were going up such a steep hill that I'm putting the trekking poles in, and they're probably at a 30-degree angle, like
Oh,
from the hill to the trekking pole, and you can pull yourself up the hill a little bit with the trekking poles, but it is so steep, and that's the same place that they're just so happy, just walking around, laying
just
down,
effortless.
sparring against one another, and it's like they were doing that on this hill. It's incredible. And then they just decide that they've had enough of that place and start walking, and they don't even look like they're walking fast. But, dude, they are gone. And like
Oh, I
a
bet.
lot of the Indian tribes used to call the Wapiti, they claimed that they were spirits, like ghosts. And I saw why, man. There's one screaming, bugling, not far away. And you think any moment he's coming in. And then just poof, and then he's screaming over here, and you could tell he's going away, and he winded you somehow, and he's gone. But
Tell me,
what?
tell me what it's like to hear a bugle out of just dead silence, pristine nothingness, and then just that animal scream. What's that
It's
like?
one of the coolest. It's one of the coolest things I've experienced in all of nature, like the bugling of an elk. And sometimes, when they're doing it, you can hear them from a long way away. But when you have one that is close to you and they do that, you can actually feel it. Like,
No
like
way.
there's like if you're at a concert and there's a deep bass, like you can feel
Yeah.
that as well as hear it. But I mean, it felt like that to me. It's like, wow, that guy's close, and that
Oh, that's
guy's
amazing.
big. And like when they're younger, they have what's like more of what I would call like an immature kind of call, right? But when they get older, and like the big king of the mountain guy, he's got this deep, raspy bugle that just sounds different than the rest of them. And you're like, that's the guy. And then we've got so close to him and could actually watch, and we would see, some of these herds had like 5 bulls in them. And so
Wow.
you would hear them bugling, but you can actually watch and you could see which one was the one that was bugling. And sure enough, man, that deep, raspy, different sound was always the big one. I mean, always the
That
big one.
is
And there are
that
guys
is
out
so
there like
cool.
Cameron Haynes and Remy Warren and so many of these guys that are so good at this. And if they find that elk, there's a really good chance they're going to kill it. For us, it's like we are learning every time. And for everything to come together where you can get an elk within 60 yards. I mean, my boys are dialed at 80. They can shoot at 80 no problem, but that's too far to
That's
shoot an
sick.
animal because if they take one step one way or one step the other way, it takes a long time for that arrow to fly out there. So really a 60-yard shot that's good. My son killed one at 54 yards and drilled it exactly where he wanted to. So you're really looking at 60 or less. And we had one at
Mhm.
12 yards,
Wow.
but it actually was too close, right? So there was no way to really draw back, to draw the bow without him seeing. And sometimes
Oh
they'll
yeah.
drop their head or they'll look back or something and give you that opportunity to do that. But that was a lesson learned. Like we probably could have picked a better place. Like looking at it, like the same thing with permit fishing. Like what I used to do with permit fishing is we would have a really close call and the fish would come over and it would tail up on the fly but wouldn't eat it, or
Mhm.
you'd get a chance and the fish never saw the fly or something like that, or you throw it in front of it and you strip too fast and it takes off. Every time I used to go back through those scenarios like, okay, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? And how can I replicate that same situation, but do something slightly different to where we actually catch that fish. And that's what I started doing with the elk hunting is like, okay, what happened there? Why did we fail? Like, why did we not kill that? Because everything happened right. We were in the right place. We identified the right place. We made the right calls. We did all of these things right. And the bull elk comes on a string, like he's coming straight to us. And then it's like, okay, if we were set up slightly different, we would have had a number of shots. And then in this one situation, we thought it was over and moved, but it wasn't over at all. And here comes the satellite bull in on us. And that's experience. Those are experience things that we just don't have enough experience yet. And that's where, like, what we were talking about the physicality of elk hunting versus fishing or whatever, or even versus whitetail or anything, is like there is so much walking. And so you're going to go and you're going to get this situation, you're going to have this opportunity, and if you spook them, man, they're gone. So if you're in good shape, you can go and do that again on this other hill way over here, 5 miles over here. And if that one doesn't work out or they're not there, you can go another 5 miles and do it over here. And you can, okay, well, what about on the backside of that hill? And so if you have the ability to walk up more of those hills, you're going to have the opportunity at more and more shots.
Yeah.
And if the more opportunity you have, one of those is going to be set up perfect. The wind, I mean, in certain situations, we had everything perfect. And then the wind would swirl a little and over. It's over. But it's a predominant wind, it's a predominant wind coming one direction, and we're set up perfectly for it. And then the wind starts to die, and then it switches real quick, and then goes back to the same thing it was doing before. That's all it has to do. And in those situations, I'm sure somebody is listening that knows a lot more about elk hunting than I do, that are like, yeah, well, that's because you're set up too far down in that little ravine, and that's what the wind does down in there. It switches, and we're learning those things, right? And so the temptation is kind of like, well, maybe we should get a guide and do this. But my boys and I are having such a good time trying to learn this, and it's heartbreaking as hell, like so tough.
Oh, I can imagine,
because you just put in like 5 miles of hard walking. And then you get in this position, and it doesn't happen. Like it's so tough. But I'd rather it do that. I'd rather that happen than not have any targets to hunt, right? Like you just can't find them, which is easy to do. It's so easy to do. So easy to do. You walk through this area, and it looks like they were there 5 minutes ago. Rubs, tracks, poop, everything's super fresh. They were right there. But that's just as close as you can get to them, I mean, for some. But then once we started to find them, we started finding them consistently. We found them every time we went out. But I think there's just a big difference between finding them and watching them and closing the distance. And I think that's all really good, and we're getting really good at that, or better at that. But the difference between that and catching or killing that's what we got to work on. And that's what happened with the tarpon and the permit and the bonefish, all of that. It's like, I remember when I was first starting guiding, we'd go out and it's like, well, we saw a 50 permit today. Like, okay, well, that's cool. How many shots did you get? We got 40 shots. How many did you catch? 0. Right. And at some point in my guiding career, it was like, okay, I don't want to just go out there and show and look at them. I don't want to go out there and look at them. So is it better to go to a place where you see 2 or 3 and you can catch one of those? Or is it better to go to the place where you see 50 or 60, but you almost never catch them in that scenario or in that situation? Yeah. And those are things that I had to learn. And I think that we're doing that with elk, is like we're going to some places where it would be very difficult to kill one. Yeah. Where we could make a slight change and go to another place where we might not see as many, or you have this lone bull, and the lone bull that's your that's it, man. That's what
That's
you
a big
want.
ticket.
That's what you
Yeah.
want, because
Less eyes to bust you, less noses.
all of that. But he's also probably been kicked out, and he's looking to establish his own little harem, or he's looking to, he needs somebody, right? Like he needs somebody, and maybe it's even that he's been kicked out, but there's another bull that's been kicked out too, and now he wants to establish his dominance over this other one, right? So, I mean, whether they're coming to fight or to mate, there's a
fired up
strong
regardless.
Draw this time of the year, and you can get them to come right to you. I mean, they will come right to you sometimes at a gallop, which is crazy. We haven't had that happen yet, but I saw this Instagram video where this one literally ran up this trail at this bow hunter. He couldn't even shoot it. It was running so fast at him.
Oh man!
And it's
I'd
not
be
like it's
scared.
running away from something. It's running to you. A 900-pound animal just like running at you with these freaking swords on his head. Like, it is scary. I mean, there were a couple times where I was like, "Ooh boy," at 12 yards, like, we need to shoot this thing. Like, I don't want it to come any further. And
12 yards.
12 yards is really too close. I mean, you'd be much better off if it was, 30 and it turned broadside to look at something. And I mean, that's like the textbook, the thing that you see on all the Cameron Haynes videos. And, but sometimes, I think that's something too, is like, if you get the setup to where the only shot you're going to get is when he comes into this little clearing right here. Well, I think you've probably set up not exactly right. Like, have that. Like, I remember when people used to tell me just trout fishing is like, if I ever see a big fish rising someplace, I always think about, like, okay, if I hook that fish, where am I going to land it? And, in some of the rivers out west, it'll be like, real fast, and it'll go like he's just above some rapids, like, in the river runs through it. Remember when he had to go down through the rapids and he tries to catch that fish? But some people would be like, well, you want to get in a situation to where you're anticipating where you're going to land the fish. And it's like, thinking ahead like that is what we're not necessarily doing with the elk hunting right now, because we haven't had enough experience to learn all of these different possibilities and say, okay, well, there's not any problem with getting that lone bull to come to us, but we're drawing him into a place that is going to be very difficult to kill him. So we need to move. But sometimes you can't because of the wind. Like, sometimes you just can't. So that's what makes it just super difficult, is like, sometimes you even know, like, this is not an ideal situation, but this is the only way we can make this happen, because you can't move because they'll see you, or you can't move because they'll wind you. So this is it. Right. And so I think a lot of people that are good are, they just make it happen. They just make it happen in those difficult
it is wild,
places.
dude.
But
and
you would love it, dude, because I mean, you got the physicality to make it happen and to walk those hills. And then if you kill one, you can pack it out. Like, I mean, that's even the other thing that we hadn't even touched on, is like, every time I thought, on every elk hunt I've ever gone on, every time I think it's going to get easier, it only gets harder. Even to the place, even to the situation of like, okay, we found them. Now we're going to kill one. Yes, we got it done. This is amazing. We got this done. This is a huge accomplishment. And then it's like, okay, so we're done. Like, this is success. And it's like, oh, but we got to pack this thing out. And some days it's like a 2-day pack out. 8 or 9 miles back to the truck. You're going to carry as much as you possibly can. You're going to run out of daylight, and then you're going to have to go out there first thing in the morning and get the rest of it. It doesn't get any easier. It never gets easier. It only gets harder.
Oh yeah. So to kill one is absurdly hard. The train you have to go through, and then you do kill one, and there's cloud 9, and then what I can only assume is cloud 11, where you are after you killed a bull elk with your bow.
Oh yeah.
How long does that, like, euphoric, just excitement last while you got 60 pounds on your back and you have to go 10 miles and you got to do it 6 more times. How long does that?
For a real maniac, insane person that likes to do physical things like you or me, it's going to last every footstep. You're gonna be so excited that that you've had success and you're doing this and you're actually carrying this thing out on your back.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be for years or maybe for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
I mean, for
that's
me,
awesome.
like I've never come off the high of the first one that my son killed. I've never come off that high. I'm just
Yeah,
hoping
that's
to
awesome.
be able to have that experience again, but while I still can, because
Yeah.
I mean, you can put too much on your back, with the first one that he killed. There were only two of us there, and so he kept saying, "Man, I wish Hayden was here, our other son, because he could carry a lot of stuff." But I was like, "Man, I think if he was here, it would only be harder." And he's like, "How do you think that?" I'm like, "Because you and I picked two amounts of weight that we could carry, and then we came back the next day and had equal load the next day. So if we had three people there, the temptation would have been we're going to get this whole thing out at
In one
one
go.
go,
Yeah.
and so everybody would have been carrying more, and
Yeah.
I think it would have been way harder. We might have been able to get it out in one go, but like there's 50 pounds left, and you're like, I don't want to just come back for 50 pounds tomorrow. So
Mm-hmm.
we're loading. This whole thing's going. Just like when you carry your grogroceries in.
I
Like,
was
I'm
about to
not coming
say,
back for
yes,
one
you
bag.
got to do one trip.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just love it. I really love it. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year, and it's so full of highs and lows. And, like you were talking about regret, and it's like that. And so, you know, your fear of regret. And there is a fear of that elk hunting is like, we really should go up to the top of that hill. And then you decide, man, we're so tired today. I mean, we've just been walking all day. We got 20 miles under our belts. Maybe we'll just save that for tomorrow. And then later you're thinking, dude, that's probably where they
What
were,
if?
man. That's probably where
Yep.
we looked everywhere else. And had we gotten up there, we might have seen one. And that might have been the difference between, you know, or you get to some place and you're not careful about cresting this hill and you skyline or something like that. And you see it. It's like, oh man,
And
had
see,
we
if you're
just,
anything like me, that what if right there, that just my endless imagination would eat me alive. Because in my mind, that would be where the 400-inch elk was. You
of
know?
course, of course. But, that 400 incher, I mean, I think we saw it. I saw the biggest elk I've ever seen. And
Really?
then there's other problems. Like we're on this massive ranch, so big, but there are more bordering properties, and a number of times the elk are going to the bordering property, and where there's nothing we can do. I mean, you could try to
Mm-hmm.
call them into your property, but you can't step foot on anywhere that's not your property, right? So, when
Yeah.
that happens, it's like you found them, you forecasted this behavior, and they just slid a little bit to the east or a little bit to the west or north or south or whatever, and they're not accessible to you. And so now you've wasted that. Like that
Ugh.
was time that you could have been somewhere else trying to get them that would have ended up on a place where you're legally allowed to hunt. And the same thing happens like on public land going to private land or whatever. But it doesn't get any easier, I don't think, on private land. Like private land has
Mm-hmm.
its own set of challenges too. Like there are no other hunters there, so they tend to do elk things and go wherever they want to. Where I mean, we have seen like on public land that another hunter goes somewhere and pushes them towards you a little bit.
Hmm.
Okay, that we'll take it like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, but I don't know. They're just so challenging. But if you haven't done it, you really need to do it.
Oh
It's
yeah.
you'd be all about it, man.
You got me fired up. Just tell me about it, dude.
It's so fun, man. It's so fun. But I mean, I don't have to tell you, but anybody that decides that that's something they want to do, there is no physical condition that you can be in that is too prepared for elk hunting. Like, that's why Cameron Haynes runs marathons every day for a month, because like what he's going to experience out there is likely harder than that. It's hard to even get your head around until you do this like a few times, and you're going through deadfall that is to your neck, and I mean, just the most challenging walking. I mean, much less moving quickly. Like, some of the most challenging walking that you're gonna experience. But it's just so fun, and it's just such an incredibly beautiful place where these elk live. I mean, it's like fishing for trout, or fishing for permit or bonefish. They don't live in ugly places. Like, they only live in these incredible, beautiful places where they can do what they need to do. And an elk needs a lot of territory to do what they do. But I mean, it's just such a tough animal. I mean, regardless of just the terrain and the weather, they've got bears and wolves and cats after them constantly, and and bow hunters, and they're just amazing at what they do, which is surviving. Like, it's
so
just incredible.
it is, dude. It really is. I got to experience it for myself. But so I know you're big into CrossFit too, and with all this training and whatnot, do you ever take ice baths for recovery?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, now that you told me I was training for the Old Man Olympics, I am doing an extra amount of training in order to get ready for this elk trip, and in preparation for the CrossFit Games this year. And I've really upped my training. And then, so I do an ice bath almost every day, mixed with sauna. But then on these competitive weeks where there'll be like an online competition, and there'll be maybe you have to do 3 workouts this week, and you can do them as many times as you want to get your best score. But there's a deadline for when you have to submit it. So you could do that workout 15 times if you wanted to, and take your best score. Sooner or later, the scores are going to start going down, and sooner or later, it's a point of diminishing return. Like, if you do that particular workout more in these 5 days, then you're not setting yourself up for doing these other 2 very well. So usually I'll repeat them once, each. So I'll do it once, and then I'll try it a second time, and I'll almost always get a better score the second time.
Really?
Sometimes on the third time, though, I don't get a better score. And so that was a wasted effort. But when I'm doing that in the course of a week, sometimes I'm taking 2 ice baths a day.
Really?
Yeah, because like you know that you're supposed to, like, I mean, like, your body has its own natural response, like from weight training. Like, that's why your legs get sore, because you're tearing down the muscle a little bit. It's flooding with lactic acid and all kinds of other things that are a repairing thing. If you lift hard and then you get in an ice bath immediately, you are blunting that response that your body necessarily has. But if you're in a competition, it's okay to do that, like, because you'll be fresh in an hour. You're not getting any stronger from that session, but you're also, you're being prepared.
Your recovery time is so much
your
better.
recovery time is way better. And so that's why I'm doing it a couple times in the day. Like, I'll do a workout, then maybe take an ice bath, and then I'll have another workout later that afternoon, like a competitive workout, not a training session. But when I have a training session, I try to spread it out like 6 or 8 hours away from the training
that way your muscles could still benefit.
Well, that's what I read. I mean, it's bro science all over the place right here. But that's what I read, is that if you're going to do it, spread it out as far away from a training session as possible. But on a competitive, like when you watch the CrossFit Games, those guys are training, or they're doing the competitive workout in the sun. It's hot. And every one of those guys goes immediately to the ice bath. And if they've got 2 people in this tiny little ice bath, they're sharing the ice bath. Somebody else comes in, puts their arm in there. It's like, whatever they can get in there, because it is so beneficial for
That's
that.
awesome.
Do you guys do it at the wrestling?
Oh yeah, we do it all the time. And I actually do it so much so that a good friend and I started our own ice bath company.
Nice.
So it's called Chillax,
Okay.
and we have portable ice baths. So we have two different sizes. We have a 30-gallon and a 90-gallon. So the 90-gallon's huge.
Is it inflatable?
Yes, it is.
I
Just
think.
like those inflatable paddle
Yeah.
boards.
Have
It
I
comes
seen
in.
this?
I think I showed you a picture when were filming,
Yeah.
but we didn't dive too much into it. But yeah, it comes with a giant backpack, almost like a blow up bed would,
Mm-hmm.
and then you pump it up with a bike pump, and we have a chiller unit that keeps the water. It chills it all the way down to 35 degrees,
Wow.
and it's got a two-stage filter. So the first filter is a legitimate filter to get any particles out, and then the second one is actually a UV light. So
Wow.
it's getting the water as clean as possible, and it's constantly circulating it.
That's
And this
cool.
unit, if you left it on 24 hours a day for a month, it'd only increase your electric bill by $28.
Wow.
So you could have a portable ice bath, in your backyard, in your garage, on
How
your
much does that go
porch.
for?
So our just the ice baths are 800. And then the full unit, the whole setup is 2,200.
Yeah. That seems very reasonable because some of these
Yeah.
ice baths I'm seeing now are $14,000.
Oh yeah, it's crazy expensive. And even ones that are similar to ours are double the price. And being an athlete my whole life, like it was mandatory that we took ice baths every single day during fall
Mm-hmm.
camp. Like mandatory.
Yeah.
We had a checklist and everything. And then again, talking about recovering, being in the WWE every day, like my body just gets abused. So I need every advantage I could get. And I was trying to buy one, and they're just astronomically priced,
Right.
right? And I sat there and I was like, okay, well, I do this anyways. Why not use my platform to try and have a more affordable version for regular people, right? Whether it be kids in high school trying to become collegiate and professional athletes, they need to recover too, and buying 50 bags of ice a week,
Yeah.
at 7-Eleven, and then putting them in your bathtub that doesn't even hold the water anyways.
Right.
It's annoying. So
Yeah,
we came
that's
up
not
with
a
this
good way.
idea, and we started it just after I started WWE. We started it, and we're full go launch as of like a week or two
That's
ago.
so cool. That's really good,
Yeah.
man. That's awesome. I think you'll do great with that.
Yeah, thank you. So it's called Chillax. We'll have to send you one. See how you
Yeah.
like it.
Well, the unit, like I do mine in a 350 Yeti and just
Mhm.
pour the ice in there. So I have an ice machine that makes 850 pounds of ice a day. And
Oh
so
wow, that's nice.
I just I take like 10 5-gallon buckets to
Mhm.
the 350 Yeti. But and I can make that, and if it's just me getting in there, I can get in there for 3 or 4 or 5 days before the water gets gross, right?
Oh wow.
But it does get gross. And
Mhm.
you don't want and if there's like 5 people getting in that thing, it's an everyday change.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's not like 50 bags of ice. It's way more than that because
Mhm.
10 5-gallon buckets of ice. And then
That's
you're going to do that every single
jeez.
day, which I could do
Yeah.
that every day, but I still have to carry it all the way up
Mhm.
there and set the whole thing up. And then, so pretty much what I do is like every Sunday, I'd stand that thing up, clean it all out with bleach and everything, get it
Mhm.
all real clean, and then make a fresh one. And then that can
Yeah.
last, uh, hopefully if I'm the only one using it, it'll last a week. But
Yeah.
some of my gross friends get in there, I gotta change it. But that's where the filter is so huge on that, and not everybody
for
has an
sure.
opportunity to get ice. And even if you did, we're like, I don't care about how much it costs to get ice. How are you going to put 50 bags of ice in the back of your hatchback? Like,
Yeah, and then, exactly.
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I think it's a great idea for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And then another great thing about it is the water's constantly circulating,
Right.
so you can never really build that layer of warm water around your body.
That's
So
real. That is
yeah,
real.
oh yeah, it's real. So it's a little colder, but I mean, once you're numb, you're experiencing full benefits. But
Yeah.
it's chilly.
But I mean, man, if you're in there and everything is fine and you've just gotten comfortable, and then you swish your legs back and forth, it
Oh
is
yeah.
way colder. Like
Oh
there
yeah.
is that thin layer of warmth around your body. That's real. Like
Yeah, it
it
is.
is. I mean, it can get real cold, but I like I'll have like probably a foot and a half of ice in that Yeti, and
Yeah.
then the rest is water. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I like
Which
it.
those
I like it
Yetis
real
keep it
cold.
at hypothermic degrees is what
Yeah,
it
but still,
is.
I mean, and that's kind of a cheap backyard way to do it. But what you got going on with the filters and the chiller, that's way
Mhm.
better, way
It
better.
is. It's it's definitely beneficial, you know. And
Yeah,
nowadays, even people that aren't athletes are doing it just to help with weight loss and the um the effects of the ice bath gives you a very similar dopamine release as a
right.
hit of cocaine does.
Wow.
But cocaine only lasts, 15 minutes, maybe just longer. But the release of dopamine lasts it's like 3 to 6 hours
Yeah.
after you get out of the ice
Well,
bath.
there's
So
so much research on the effects on depression, and
yeah,
how cold can help with depression. There's tons of research on that. So lots of benefits. Sometimes I just, people are like, "Why do you do that?" And I'm like, I don't know. It just feels like it's doing something. I don't
it
want to
does.
go. I
It
don't want to
does.
go into all these different things, but there's no question, like 100%, zero question that uh, it's good for my knees. Like, not that I have bad knees or even problematic knees, but sometimes after training, doing a lot of back squats or snatches or something like that, the next morning you come down the stairs and you're like, oof, you know, I
Oh,
did
trust
some
me, I
stuff.
feel you.
And then you get in the ice bath and it's like the next morning you're like, straight down the stairs, like no big deal. And
Rejuvenated.
yeah, it's so good. So good. Yeah, well, I'll check that out. And yeah, that's good, man. I'm glad you're doing that. I'm so glad that we got to make it happen. It's been really cool getting to know you and learning a little bit about professional wrestling and I mean that's like the extra part. Like you're an awesome fisherman, and it was fun to spend the day with you and go fishing. And whether you're a professional wrestler or not, uh, having the extra to learn a little bit about professional wrestling is even cooler. To know somebody that's
For
actually
sure.
doing that and on their way up, that's pretty cool, man. So
For sure.
congratulations to you, and we'll be watching on NXT and see you make your debut. And when you do, I'll put it on the social, on our socials and stuff, and make sure that we get some people over there
That'd be
too
awesome.
that want to watch it. So
Hell yeah.
anyway, well, tell them one more time how they can follow what you're doing and follow your social media. And then what is the name of your character? Do you know?
I'm gonna have to tell you that when it comes
Okay,
out.
all right.
I do know, but it's kind of keep on the DL for a
Okay,
little
you
bit.
got to keep that down. I understand.
But yeah, so you can follow me on social media. H Smallback is all my handles, and then I actually am coming out with a YouTube series as well. It's called Sights and Tides. So
Nice.
we got a
What
little
will
bit
you
of
do on that?
hunting. Yeah, a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing, a little bit of surfing. So kind of everything I love to do outside. We're going to be fully documenting our entire trip to Canada. We're posting videos of like all the documents you need to have to get there, the way you get guns into Canada because it's actually kind of tough.
Yes.
Uh, and then again, just all of our hunting and everything.
Nice.
So kind of just showing people my lifestyle.
Is that up now? Is that channel
Yep, yeah,
created?
it's up now. Yeah. So we only have I think we only have the intro video out right now, but more content soon to come. We have some gator hunts that we're editing right now. We have actually the night after we did our show, I went out with Garrett
Yeah.
fly fishing the dock lights, and dude, I caught 4 tarpon on the fly rod
That's
that
so
night. It was
awesome.
sick.
That's so
Yeah,
great.
super cool. So just again, everything I love is just we're just putting on there. Just now, I'm just sharing it with people.
All right. All right, man. Well, cool.
Kind of talk about how we met. We met at ICAST, and a lot of men this day and age, and a lot of people in general, just kind of aren't attached with like their feelings or need to be a manly man. And I feel like I'm one, but I saw you and I immediately came over just to give you praise because your show was so impactful on me growing up and growing my passion of fishing so much. I had never even thought about being on the show. I was just starstruck that I saw Tom Rowland, you know? So I came over and I just thanked you for having such an amazing show, and like legit for giving back so much that you inspired me to grow my passion of fishing and to venture from my bass in the backyard to get to the saltwater. And, you know, like, I have a wonderful platform with the WWE, but just going out of your way to say something nice to someone, or just going out of the way to thank them for someone, or doing anything like that, you don't know the type of doors it opens, right? You don't know the effect that it has on someone's heart or someone's well-being or whatever. So if there's one thing, like, I could kind of encourage anyone from today, like, yes, get out and fish, go hunt, yes, do that, but be kind. And if you feel some type of way, go let someone know, you know. And if it's negative, you know, maybe you keep it to yourself, but you know, like, spreading the love is a real thing.
Yeah, and you know, from the other side of it, you know, sometimes when you're first starting out and it's not going as well as it is right now, you just think, man, if this just is important to one person, it'll all be worth it. I mean, you always hear people say that, and it's like, especially in the beginning when the show's losing money and you're trying so hard to make it better, and you know, it would be an easy place to quit, and you're just kind of like, you know, if I could just make an impact on one person, that would be worth everything. And that's you know, that's what it's all about. So like when you're saying you should go out and say something to somebody that's meant something to you, you have no idea what that means to that person. Like, that could be the thing that keeps them going. They could even be thinking, you know, it seems like sometimes something is so big that, you know, it's obviously rolling and it can go forever, but that might not be the way it is, man. That person might be thinking about cashing it in and stopping, right?
Yeah.
But one comment from somebody that watches the show or something like that could be the total difference for them too. Like, wow, like, it is working. It did make a difference to somebody, and they keep going, you know, so it's cool. But yeah, it's awesome, man. I was glad to get to know you there, and it's turned out good.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Well, again, thank you just so tremendously much for having me on the TV show. And you guys treated me like a king. The room was amazing. The fishing was the best snook fishing of my life. And just being able to be on the boat with you guys, dude, just made my heart happy, bro. Just out there cracking it up, catching fish. Like, there's nothing better to me.
Love it. I love it. It was awesome, man. All right. Thanks, Hunter. And we will we'll have another great guest next week. So follow Hunter and watch him as he makes his big rise in the WWE. All right. See you, Hunter.
All right. Thank you. Later.